All right. Good morning again, everybody. It is 10:03. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a pretty light crowd this morning. I think probably because it's a lot of people's Monday, um, with the holiday yesterday in celebration of our veterans. But today's topic, and just looking at who we have on the call this morning, I think most of you, I know Decatur, Shoals, Birmingham. Good morning, Sandy. So good to see you. Good morning. Um, Most of you do a drive-in. Let me let Rick in real quick. He's jumping on as well. So, most of you do a drive-in, and of course, by that we mean bringing a group, a contingency from your local community to Montgomery during the legislative session. Um, And then, of course, fly-in would be basically doing the same thing, taking a group contingency of your citizens within your community to DC for a visit with our legislative delegation there in DC. So, really quickly, just for those, we do record these so that people can listen to them after. Who we have on the call represented are Birmingham, Mountain Lakes, Decatur, Sylacauga, the Shoals. I see Sam there, and Heather from North Jefferson, and somebody that I'm not sure who that is. They have an iPhone, but if you guys will, let's see, go ahead. Um, just if you guys will jump in, Sam, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you. If you could just kind of give us a rundown of your drive-in, who you guys bring, when you do it, and kind of just so that we can learn from each other. And we'll talk about fly-ins. And then, of course, we have a great big announcement that we're so excited to be making. Oh, we have Meredith with Birmingham. And I think we have Meredith. And then, hi, Michelle from Madison. Sam, if you will, just kind of give an overview of who you bring, your purpose, and kind of why you guys do it, and just an overview of the day. And I think you guys overnight as well.
We do. So thank you, Paige. So I'm Sam Ashram with the Shoals Chamber. I've been at our chamber for 3 years. And so in the time that I've been here, we've kind of changed the way that we've done our drive-in. In the past, we did a drive-in where it would be an open call to membership, but typically we would have a handful of members go and the four mayors of our municipalities in the area would go, in addition with our EDA, who we work really closely with. And we'd go down for a lunch, typically, have lunch with those legislators there, and then also go observe the state legislature. 2 years ago, we shifted that. Now our drive-in is well, I should say, even when we were doing that, we were also taking our leadership group to Montgomery. Now we've shifted it to where our drive-in is our leadership group that goes to Montgomery. And so every year we have about 30 members of our leadership program, and those are different every year. So we get different faces in Montgomery, folks who are decision makers in businesses locally. It's a diverse group of ages and positions in companies, and diverse of different industries in our community. And so we've shifted to that focus, mainly because well, I should say mainly because we also created a new event that kind of replaced drive-in. So you all know your legislators are in your community at a state level. They're in your community, 90% of the year. They're just in Montgomery during those days that the legislature is working. So we created a new event that takes place right after the kickoff of the session in February called Legislative Luncheon. And that Legislative Luncheon is basically the program of what we had with the luncheon in Montgomery, except we have a lot more businesses that are able to come, because being 200 miles away from Montgomery, people can't really take off a whole day just to go to a luncheon, or they prefer not to take off a whole day to go to a luncheon. So we kind of bill it as the tagline for it is, we're bringing Montgomery to the Shoals. And so we bring in all of our local legislators. The past couple of years, we've also brought in BCA to give an update on what BCA is doing in Montgomery. And then we've kind of talked about some key points of our public policy agenda, and those legislators have discussed their priorities for the upcoming session. And the real reason for us is just to get face time with those legislators and our those legislators and our members so that they see that these legislators are responsive to our policy agenda and what we want to achieve for our community. And also for those legislators to see that our community members are bought in. And what we were seeing with that legislative drive-in was when we just had, a handful of business owners, it didn't really communicate the scale of our business community being plugged in as it did when we have a room full of, 150, 200 folks who are there. And you get a lot more of the key decision makers when they don't have to take off a day for luncheon. So that leadership drive-in really takes the place of that. So we'll go down on a Wednesday night, which is a committee day for the legislature. And then or we'll go down on a Wednesday, and then Wednesday night, we'll have a dinner with all of our local legislators. So we invite them to come out. It's a really great way for those folks to engage with them in a really more relaxed environment. We have them split up to where the legislators aren't all sitting at a table. They're sitting with our leadership members. We try to go for a more low-key kind of an environment. Also helps on the cost of the event. The next morning we take them to last year we took them to BCA and they met with the BCA staff. Then they walked over to the Capitol and we observed the legislature, or I should say the State House. We took them to the State House and they observed the legislature in session. They get recognized from the podium, and that's always a big deal for our local folks who are down there. That's kind of just a general gist of what we do and kind of where we came from and why we do what we do now. And I'd be happy to answer any questions people have. I know other people are doing a lot of great things as well. I'd love to hear what other folks are doing.
That's great. Thank you, Sam. Two follow-ups. One, I'll mention the Dothan Chamber down in the Ryegrass does a very similar where they bring their legislative delegation to Dothan and have a huge breakfast, probably 300 people in the room. So that's great if anybody is down in that area and wants to follow up with Lori down in Dothan. But Sam, you mentioned that evening function. Do you mind sharing, just as people are thinking about the session, where you guys do that?
Yes. Yeah. So this last year was the first year we've done that. And we did it at Dreamland downtown. We just want to do somewhere downtown that's close walking distance to the hotel so people aren't having to drive. Dreamland was really good. They got a meeting space. It was not as big as they told us it was going to be when we first booked it. We ended up had some funky seating for just a few folks. So I think for folks, if you've got like 25 people, Dreamland makes sense. If you've got more like we were pushing 40, it had some funky seating. But we're looking at a couple spots for this year, but one spot we are looking at is the Biscuits. The Biscuit Stadium is right there. And so we're thinking about maybe like, not being a baseball game night. That's kind of off season for them. They can still do food and stuff. And so looking at potentially going there, but we've got some other options. I'd love to hear if anybody else has options down there as well. I know downtown can be kind of, there's some good places at different price points. So it's different looking at what your group can do.
Thank you, Sam. And this is great, particularly because I think majority of folks on the call do something. So this will be a great opportunity to share some places and different things. Rick, I'm going to come to you just because Sam mentioned the Biscuits, and I know that's a venue that you guys have done. Can you just kind of walk us through what your group looks like, who you bring, and what your 2 days look like?
Yeah, we the last 2 years we've done it a little bit different because our senator reached out and asked if I would be willing to coordinate a regional drive-in. So we brought in 4 other chambers of commerce here in Northeast Alabama: Rainsville, Fort Payne, Henniger, and Cherokee County, to go along with the Mountain Lakes Chamber. And we with that large of a group, we also bring our leadership Jackson County group comes in with us, so that brings about 20 more. But we've got a large enough group that we charter a bus and we come down, and the first thing we do is have a briefing there in Montgomery. This year we had about 100 people. So when you got that large a number, you can pretty much, if their schedule allows, you can get anybody you want to. So we had the governor, lieutenant governor, head of ADECA, head of BCA, Page. Just about anybody we asked for, we got with that large of a number. So then that was the entire afternoon. We brought them all to us and just one right after the other every 30 minutes. Oh, excuse me. Then that night, last year, went to the Biscuits, and the Biscuits did not play, but that night, Auburn and Alabama State played. So that's a good venue. The food was good, and we actually got to watch a baseball game. And of course, we invited all of our delegation and state leaders and everybody to join us for that. Then the next morning, we go to the State House and we meet with all of our delegation, and well, actually all of the 5 chambers delegation, 3 different counties. So we met with them and get to talk about our issues and things that we're concerned with, and they had a chance to catch us up on everything that's going on in Montgomery. So I don't know if we're going to do the regional again. There's a couple of chambers that didn't participate real well, but either way, we'll continue to do ours. And we also do a Washington fly-in. We've done one for about 30 years. So that's a big deal for us. That is a 2-night stay, and we've had a lot of success going to Washington.
Perfect. Thank you. And we're going to come back to the fly-ins in just a few minutes. Really quick before I go on to our Decatur team, Heather had a question. And this is one that I'm not sure. How do you offset the cost, Rick? Do you charge per person? Do you get sponsorship? And Sam, I'm going to come back to you for that same. How do you
Yes,
guys?
yes, and yes. Everybody, we definitely get sponsors, and our sponsors this past year covered the briefing lunch that we had at the RSA Plaza, and it was enough to cover dinner also. As far as the hotel rooms, everybody pays for their own hotel room. We charge if they ride the bus, we charge them for the bus and everything, but we try to get sponsors to offset some of that cost.
Great. Sam, how about you guys? Is it part of your TRC, or how do you guys do it?
Yeah, yes and yes as well. So we do the sponsors for the leadership program. There's not an exact sponsor for the Montgomery trip for leadership, but there are sponsors for that leadership program. Those leadership participants pay for their own hotel room. And then for the event that we have in the Shoals that kind of replaced our drive-in, it has tons of sponsors, that legislative lunch, and it generates a good bit of revenue.
Do you charge for the luncheon for the attendees?
Yes, we do charge for the luncheon for the attendees.
Good. Very good. I see we've got a lot of folks from the Decatur team on. Who wants to take it? Who wants to give us an update? Rachel, you want to do that? Right. Oh, Amber. Whoever wants to.
Well, let Rachel, because she actually went on the trip this past time.
Yes. So this is my 3rd year here at the Chamber. And this past year, I got to go on our Montgomery trip that Judy Brown usually plans and oversees, because she oversees our leadership programs, which is Excellence and Edge. Excellence in Leadership is for adults. Edge is for about 30 local students. And we go down on one day with the Excellence team, and we also open that up for our chamber members if they would like to go. And then we go down, it changes each year, but we always tour the state capitol, the Capitol. And then this year we got to observe the legislature in session, very similar to what the Shoals Chamber does. And then we did a question and answer with our Morgan County delegation. So they were all there in the room, made time for us, and we got to spend about an hour or 2 with them. And then we checked into our hotel, and then dinner on our own that night. And then the next day we had breakfast at the Farmers Market Cafe, and we always have a speaker that comes in. This year was Nick Moore with the Governor's Office on Education and Workforce. And then we toured local places there in Montgomery, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, and then the Legacy Museum. And I'm trying to remember. Then we went and had a couple other things. I'm trying to read our agenda. So Clay Redding, we heard from him, and we had a lunch where we also, I think at our breakfast, Alabama Chambers was there, and Paige also spoke with us. And then at lunch, after we went through, okay, I'm getting confused, because then our Edge class came down the next morning, and then they also did a separate tour with the Excellence, and then they meet up. We take a picture with the governor at the state capitol. So it's a lot because we've got two groups there at the same time, and so it's a lot of planning. But Judy does a great job of getting that together, and so it's a real quick trip, but we make the most of it, and then we all come back that day. We're back in Decatur by 5 o'clock that afternoon. So. And then
And
we
you know what?
also, like the Shoals, have our legislative update. It's a breakfast where we bring our Morgan County delegation here at a local venue, and we do charge for that. We have sponsors for that as well, and we really get to hear from them, talk about our public policy agenda, present that to them as well, and we also have a Washington update where we do the same and bring in one of our U.S. senators or representatives. So we have those separate, and those are usually either a breakfast or a lunch, depending on the availability of our local senator or congressman. And then we have our public policy agenda. We meet for those 3 times a year in the fall. And we just wrapped those up for our local, state, and federal agenda. And we get input from our local members and our local business community. And then we turn around, update that, and present that throughout the year to our local, state, and federal leaders.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. That's great. I've been fortunate to be able to be with you guys for the last couple of years. And I love the fact that you integrate your youth coming in on that second day and bringing them as well. So awesome. Awesome. Meredith, I see you there. What does Birmingham do? Do you guys do Montgomery and DC?
We have not done Montgomery or DC drive and fly in for a few years, but we're in the process of bringing them back, which is why I'm here today, just to take some notes. We do annually put together a really robust public policy agenda. And that's, a really, it's an intensive process. We've got a public policy committee and a governmental affairs committee that we filter all those things through. And then ultimately, we also have a lobbyist that we hire to help execute some of those things, but we've not been formally presenting those agendas with an investor related event. So that's something we're planning on bringing back. We had previously done a full day drive-in where we would I think we stopped it about 5 years ago. But we would get a bus, we'd drive usually about 55. I don't know that we ever got a second bus to drive in. And we would do lunch and then a reception, and usually bring in our delegation in to speak throughout the day, and then have some sort of a keynote at lunch. But it's something that kind of fell off the radar, especially like around right before COVID, and now we're planning on bringing it back.
Perfect. Great. Michelle from Madison. Hi, good morning. I know I don't want to misspeak. You guys worked jointly with Huntsville last year or this year. Is that correct?
Yep, this past year, in March.
Perfect.
Yep.
That was that is for here in Montgomery.
Yep.
2 days.
So we do it's really more like 3 days. So we ended up, my mayor, we were going to do our own trip, but everything we do in North Alabama, they like to show one voice. So we ended up partnering with the Huntsville-Madison County Chamber, since we are in Madison County, and felt like that made the most sense. And so Huntsville's done a trip for a very, very long time. And so I worked with Chip, and we ended up doing a joint trip together. It was great. Their event coordinator, Diana, was great to work with. They had already sold sponsorships for it, so I didn't really push to sell sponsorships. We were just kind of tagging along. As y'all know, this is only year 3, so I was like, okay with it. We did sell tickets to our members, so we did set it up in Chamber Master, where our members could register through our website, or they could register through the Huntsville Chamber's website using a special discount code. And then we did split the profit revenue of those registrations through the Huntsville Chamber. So I thought that was very fair to do that. But no, they did a great job. You know, we did like, they do like a day before trip with some, and I couldn't even tell y'all who we met with. They were just carrying me around the Capitol, and it was a I mean, I didn't know who these people were, but we saw Paige with and went to BCA's office, and then everybody drove in that night. And so all the other participants and everybody that just registered to attend then came that evening. They do a reception at is it the Renaissance there,
It's
Paige?
Mhm.
So they
Yep.
do a reception in one of those open areas that's just cocktail food. And I think you got like one drink ticket. And then everyone was kind of on their own for dinner, but a lot of the elected officials came to that reception. And then they did a morning breakfast at the Renaissance Hotel with our elected officials. And then we went over to the State House after that and had some, I think, and it was the morning after some of the races. So like Anthony Daniels spoke and different things like that. And I think the governor, it was a great time. I didn't plan it though, so I can't give you, I was just along for the ride, but I thought they did a great job, and Mike Ward was great to work with, and him and I in the meeting sat next to each other, and he gave the Huntsville agenda, he gave my agenda, and it was very much a unified partnership event for the first
Great.
time doing it. So
That's awesome. Great. Laura, I don't know if where are you guys there in Sylacauga on doing your drive-ins?
The only drive-in that we do is with our leadership class. So I don't know if you categorize it the same. We just spend a day with our leadership class in Montgomery. And I always open that up to my board too. We don't have board participation, unfortunately, that we visit the state house, and we sit in the alley for both the house and the Senate. We do get an opportunity to speak with our delegation while we're there, and really do some touring. We have not expanded though to a full-blown driving with leaders within the county. It is something that I think it's worth us exploring from the county perspective. So I'm feel learning a lot as well.
Okay. Very good. Sandy, how about you guys? I know you do, well, I don't want to speak for you. What do you guys do down there in Elba? Oh, you're muted. Oh,
All right, now,
there you go.
we have a legislative breakfast during the session, and we have, I don't know, we use First Baptist Church Fellowship Hall, and we pack it, so it's always, I'd say 175 people from just anyone in town can come and get an update on what's going on, ask their questions of our legislative party. And we also do a drive-in. We take our leadership, we have a leadership Wiregrass, and we take the people from our town with us, and we have a youth leadership class. We take them, our board members and business leaders that want to attend. And we had a breakfast last year at the Cattlemen's Association, and then we went over and had appointments, because even in your own town you've got people who personally know some other legislator from maybe another district. So we've had different individual appointments sessions, and then we all went to the general session. We met back up and went and were recognized, and we had a brief meeting with the lieutenant governor and pictures. So it was really, I think it's very beneficial, because I can just about invite my legislative crew to anything I have, and they participate. We had the lieutenant governor speak at our chamber banquet this year, so it's just good to make those connections and get your thoughts listen to and to hear what they're thinking too.
Agreed. And I think, thank you, Sandy, so much for that. Did I miss anybody? Christopher down there in Eastern Shore, I see, you, if you want to tell us hi, what do you guys do, within your, within Eastern Shore, or, if you're coming to Montgomery?
Sure. So within the Eastern Shore, we have a state delegation breakfast that usually happens like right after the session. And so we just really invite any of our state delegation to come and speak about what they did, what different bills they passed and worked on. And then we also have an elected officials luncheon, which is actually next Tuesday. So that's more of elected officials across the board. So that's state delegation, local municipality officials. And then we also have a governmental affairs committee, and we have some state delegation talk to them during the session. But we're also a part of Coastal Business Alliance. So that is a group of 6 different chambers in Southwest Alabama through Coastal 150, which is a political group. And so we kind of push out our legislative agendas through them and kind of connect with not only Baldwin County, but Mobile County as well. So that's a good way that we've kind of engaged with our local or with our state delegation. And then we also have we help host a tourism bash during the session in March in Montgomery. And then we have also our youth leadership program. We want to start taking them to Montgomery. We're just trying to figure out the funds to do that, but that's more on a local level. We do a law and government day for them. So it's more about seeing local officials, but we also have our state reps come in and talk to them. So that's what we do here on the shore.
Perfect. Sounds great. So really quickly, thank you guys so much. One of the things and one of the reasons that we wanted to do this call is, one, to encourage more communities. I think most of you on the call are doing something. So I don't have to sell you on the reason why it's so important, but Sandy really hit the nail on the head, where being in front of the legislators, and having those close connections really helps, the phones be picked up when we need them. And so to that point, 2 things. I think, one, I want to do this call again, hopefully not after this. I think this is a great topic. Maybe do it early in 2025, where we can get more into the weeds on the assets that you use here in Montgomery. That's a question that I get a lot, is where are you doing lunches, and where are people staying, and what spaces can we use, and that sort of thing. And so just from a timing perspective, I'd love, I think, to do that. We have done drive-ins and fly-ins. Well, I think particularly drive-ins, we have had a session at PDC. Rick and Judy, I think, wasn't it you and Judy that led that a couple of years ago? I think that's another topic that we may want to revisit in 2025, again, to get into the weeds. And really, you guys are doing it. Is for you to help us encourage others to do it. So we're going to look at that again in 2025 PDC. So, but, and also, I think, to dive in a little deeper into the fly-ins. If anybody has any questions, unmute, raise your hand, get in the chat. Just let me know if you have any questions for anybody else on the team or on the call.
Well, I will say one thing. I think everybody would agree with this. Their driving should not be your only time that you're spending in Montgomery with your legislators, regardless of what your drive-in program is. And regardless if you have a governmental affairs person, or if it's the president of your organization, or what have you, you need to be having regular times throughout the session where you know that issues that are important to you are coming up on the agenda, and you're going down there and maybe taking members with you, taking your governmental affairs committee, taking a chair of your board, or at the very least inviting those people and making them aware that you're going, because a drive-in can only do so much. Drive-in, in my mind, does more for your members than it does for your actual policy agenda, advancing your agenda in Montgomery. That work is done when you go down to Montgomery, not in a big event, but in an appointment to speak with people about the issues that matter.
Sam, that's a great point. Thank you so much. To that point too, if you will, most of you on this call do have a published agenda. Once those are finalized, if you can digitally send that to me, we try to keep a repository of those so that we will have them and we will be aware. Please use us as a resource if you're coming into Montgomery. You have use of our office here. I know I've offered it, Sam, when, you know, and when you guys are down here, if you need a place to light for an hour or two, or to meet, we can certainly use our office here. But, excuse me, just a couple of important things. Session, most of you know, session opens 2025 on Tuesday, February the 4th. This is the, third year of the quadrennium. So next year, 2026, will open even earlier than that. It will probably open in January. But as the third year, we're going to start again February the 4th. To that end, my understanding is, just to give you some important dates, the BCA legislative reception that they host is scheduled right now for Wednesday, February the 5th. That is open to the executives and governmental affairs folks for all of our local chambers. You'll get more information about that, but if you want to go ahead and put that date on your calendar, that is Wednesday, February the 5th. We do not have an agenda for what that day will look like yet, but more importantly, we are excited to tell you that for the first time that we are aware, and I'm sure it has happened sometime in the past, since this organization's been around since 1937, but the Chamber of Commerce Association of Alabama on Wednesday, March 5th, will be hosting Chamber Day at the Capitol. And this is designed, it will be an all-day event beginning around 10 a.m. We are going to start at the RSA Plaza Terrace, which is on Washington Street, right across from the State House. We have it reserved beginning 10 a.m. We will hear from leadership across Montgomery there at the RSA Plaza. Then after lunch, and we'll have lunch. After lunch, we will depart en masse to the State House and visit all of the legislative offices. We will have gift for each of the legislative offices. Our goal is to have someone from each district in attendance so that we are able to visit all 140 legislative offices. As you know, 35 in the Senate, 105 in the House. Our goal is to visit all 140 of those offices. We'll then reconvene, go from the State House over to the Capitol, and end our visit with the governor and in the old House chambers there at the Capitol. This is intended to be two things. It's a listening session so that our executives, it's intended for governmental affairs staff members, CEOs, executive directors of all of our chambers, and then whoever your invited guest. So we're not opening this up to everyone. Maybe it is the chair, your executive committee, your maybe the chair of your governmental affairs committee, and a couple of 2 or 3 members from that. So not huge, but really intending to have all of our professionals from across the state representing all of the chambers. Michelle mentioned when they come, it's with one voice. This is an opportunity for those here in Montgomery in a leadership position to hear from our chambers in one voice. We represent every corner of the state. And chambers are an important part of the fabric of this community, of this state. And we want that message to be heard here in Montgomery from each and every one of you. So there will be a cost to attend. We are anticipating that to be around $75 per person. We will also be looking for sponsorships. We will have some sponsorship packages available for our partners, but then also if any of you monetarily can support this a little bit more, we'll have that available. You'll get more of that information in the follow-up email to this, but this was the opportunity that we wanted to take to really introduce this. Again, it is scheduled for March the 5th. That is a Wednesday. About a month into session, so things will be just getting up and running during that. Now, the exciting part of that is for those of you who are able, and we would love to have you all stay, that evening at 6 p.m. is the Battle of Goat Hill. And that is the softball tournament between the House and the Senate. And they love it. I think it would be phenomenal for us to be able to be there at the baseball game. It's at the Biscuit Stadium. To be there to support your delegation as they have a little bit of fun for charity at the Battle of Goat Hill. So that is that evening. So we encourage you to stay if you are able. So you'll get more information, but we wanted to take this opportunity to ask you to please put that important date on your calendar. Please plan to be here. We want Montgomery to see and hear from our chambers across the state together. So with that, I'm going to open it up if you guys have any questions about anything that you heard today or anything about Chamber Day at the Capitol. What else, what other information do you need? We'll open up registration, all of that, probably first of the year. But you guys let me know thoughts. Hopefully you're excited about Chamber Day and that, but what else? Sam?
So Paige, March 5th is the Chamber Day at the Capitol.
Yes.
February 5th. Remind me what that was called again?
That is the BCA legislative reception.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's the function that they do every year. It's usually an evening function at different, I'm not sure where it'll be this year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Something we did not give you that you need to be really excited about Chamber Day? All right. I'm going to take silence as excitement. I mean, why not, right? Yay. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate that. All right. Well, how many of you, just by show of hands, I know Rick's, you guys have done a fly-in now for 30 years. Christopher, do you guys do a fly-in to DC in any?
That's where we utilize the Coastal Business Alliance. So they do a
Okay.
fly-in and we're part of that. So
Coastal Business does. Okay. I was not aware of that. That's good. Decatur, do you guys do a fly-in to DC?
We do not. For years, we partnered with the Huntsville Chamber. We're definitely evaluating, trying to figure out if that's something feasible for us to do on our own. We haven't for the last few years.
Okay, good. Meredith, I know you said you guys are thinking about bringing it back. I know this year, Coleman did a fly-in as well. So that's definitely an area that we are interested in and helping you guys if you're interested in doing that. The U.S. Chamber is a great partner in that and helping. Sam, do you guys do a fly-in as well, right? Yes, I thought you did. And is that in partnership? Is it a community fly-in with your development authority?
Yes. So it's it's our fly-in. The EDA is one of our main sponsors of the event, and we'll take business members, all of our mayors, the EDA, and typically if we have any organizations locally that are important to us that we'd like to have on the trip as well. Like last year, we took an economic development team member from TVA to kind of talk about a project related to economic development.
Yep, good. I can see TVA definitely being a part of that for you guys up there in North Alabama. Okay, great. Well, as always, we appreciate you. Hope that everybody has a great week. Again, I think this is a topic that we will continue to revisit. You will hear more and more about Chamber Day. I hope you'll put it on your calendar, be excited about it. And I'll see most of you next week in Birmingham for our annual meeting and Alabama Small Business Awards. So safe travels. Everybody have a great week. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your continued support. And we'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a good week.